Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you're listening to
Girls Nerd Out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We're very excited to talk to you about another episode of Rings of Power Season 2. And Andrea, I thought you would really like the name of this one.
I did, but you know what's funny? So it's episode 6 and it's called Where Is He? And I didn't know what that meant at first, so I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. But then once, you get into the episode, you realize what it's about. So it fits 100% if you just go into it a little bit.
Same. At first I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, okay.
Very cool. I like the name.
I do too. Okay, so you actually told me about this before I had seen it, and I got super excited. I'm one of those people that I don't mind talking about spoilers before. It's just who I am. But orc deserters, that's the first thing we see. And I think that scene is more important than some people give it credit. Don't you?
Yes. Although I did make a comment because I was like, Arondir is running in the forest. Why didn't he take a horse? I get the elves are fast, but I was like, come on, boy. What are you doing?
I guess we're supposed to assume it's because he's running super fast. But again, they've never actually said that, like in the show.
They also don't talk about their hearing, and they show his hearing is really good. So I liked that. That was cool. But yeah, there's some orcs that are defective. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so the orcs are basically saying, I'm not going to die for Adar going on like a quest to kill a ghost. So they think that Sauron is dead because the orcs saw him, quote unquote, die. The interesting part, and the part that's probably also going to annoy some people, is it's just another short scene that shows the orcs have free will, individuality, and opinions. And that is making some people feel very uncomfortable. And you and I find that amusing. Very.
It is very amusing. And I guess, I counted, I think there's 4 of them, but there could have been more because I swear I saw some in the distance. So there might just be more than just a few that defect because I doubt they're the only ones that feel this way,
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not just those that we see. I think we're meant to think, okay, well, if those are going by, there's been others. And also they're not being stopped.
No, I feel like Adar probably just lets them choose what they want to do. I don't think
I do too.
Which I like that. And that makes him also look good. Doesn't make him look bad.
There's a lot of that. And again, that will also make some people unsettled, but they'll be fine.
Well, I thought it was funny that they were like, we're not going to die for a ghost hunt, but then they die anyway.
Yeah, the irony. There's definitely irony. I was going to ask you, when we do see Arondir, what does he find? What is that?
It's a map of Eregion, I think. It looked like it, because after that we go into Eregion, and one of the buildings looks like the one on the map.
Okay, I watched the episode on my iPad, and sometimes it just doesn't show things as clear as I want. And that I knew it was a map, but I couldn't tell. And I put a note. I was like, "It's a map. Andrea's going to be excited, and she will know what this is a map of."
Yeah, I was so excited to see that. It goes pretty fast though, so I understand. I had to rewind it a few times because I'm like, what is that? And then you see Eregion right after that, and one of the buildings looks like one in the map, so it fits.
Okay, perfect. So we definitely know he's on his way there. I mean, I don't know how much help he can be. He's just one, but he's on his way there.
Elf.
But right after that, we go to Eregion. Do you want to talk about, this is your favorite, area, right?
Yeah, I love that, and I love the Adar scenes. So yeah, these are my favorites, especially Eregion, because my Lord and Savior is, there, But the very beginning of the scene is just Celebrimbar, because he's, upset with the fact that the rings are just not doing what he wants. They're just not working for him. So he's having a difficult time. And they need more mithril, but the dwarves are late with their delivery. They've sent like people to go get it, and they're just not responding. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then
Mm-hmm.
Celebrimbor is also really short with his smiths. And Mardania, the one that the one
That's
I think could,
fangirl.
we both think, yeah, that's the fangirl, but we both think that could possibly be Galadriel's daughter. I don't think it is after this episode, but you never know.
No, but
Um,
if it were her daughter, if they had gone that route, it would have been cool.
it
But
would have
yeah,
been.
it's probably not.
It's
Probably
probably
not.
not, but now that I've really looked at it this episode, I'm like, I don't know. Um, but anyway, so she tells him that tells Celebrimbor that he seems ill-tempered, and the look on his face is like, how dare you? How
Oh
dare
yeah.
you talk to me like this? And then he doesn't even remember her name, so he's clearly like losing his mind.
Yep.
And once I finish the episode, we'll get into it, but once I finish the episode, I wondered what Anatar does to him later. I wonder if that is why he's having issues, like
Oh yeah. That's a good point. He's spaced out. He
very
looks
spaced.
spaced out. You know what it really reminds me of? It reminds me of people that are in the beginning stages of dementia. The irritation made me think of that because the forgetfulness is obvious, but the irritation he has along with it, it just, if you didn't know, you would think, okay, this is a guy with dementia. That's what this is because
Yeah.
he's irritated that he's misplacing things, forgetting names. So I think you're right. I think Sauron is really doing a number on his brain.
Oh my gosh. Well, and it's yeah, because he messes with them a little bit because he like, oh, you mean because he's like sitting down because Anatar comes in and you see him. He looks beautiful, by the way. He's got like his
Mm-hmm.
hair in a little bow knot thing, and his clothes. I don't know where he got his clothes, but I love it. Celebrimbar lets him know that he's losing his mind basically because he's like I had my what was it like tuning hammer or whatever he called it. He couldn't
Yeah.
he couldn't remember where he put it, and Anatar's like, oh, you mean right over there, like right behind you? And he's like, oh. And I'm like, I wonder if that was just him messing with him. I don't know. I think
I thought he misplaced it, and now after I've watched the entire episode, I definitely think there's a possibility he moved the hammer.
he likes to be trickster-ish, in my
Whew.
opinion, and it's very very dark of him.
It's super dark. I thought it was interesting though that Anatar says that the elves want to see Celebrimbor, and he's like adamant. He's like, no, I don't want to see him. Is that guilt, I guess? Just massive guilt?
Guilt and probably like, hey, I need to finish this because
Yeah.
he it's pride too. Like he's very prideful of his work and it's not working, so he's like, I'm not doing this until I'm done.
Yeah, that makes sense. Guilt and then pride because he hasn't been able to get the rings for men to work.
And I think that's also a factor of why he's losing it too. So it could be like the fact that, they're not working and he wants to finish it and Anatar's messing with him. So like it's just a bunch of stuff altogether, I think.
True, it's basically an obsession at this point. And what's interesting is immediately after that, Anatar goes outside and he's talking like he's the new Lord of Eregion.
Celebrimbor asks that I handle all his administrations in his stead. I'm like, that is not what he said. He asked you to go at the dwarves. That's it. That's all he said.
And he's like, no, 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 I will speak to the people. And they have no question about it because they know they've been working together. So they have no reason to doubt.
Yep. And then, well, they do tell him a grievance. Apparently there's
Mm-hmm.
a body that was found, that, he had to look at, and it had some carved. What is that language?
Okay, so
Is that black
from
speech?
from what I understand, again, this scene goes by very quickly.
Yes.
So I think the orcs have already placed a blockade because they say that nobody is coming back, nobody's going in or out, and then they sent some people to check it
Yeah.
out, and then none of them came back except for one who we find out is not alive and has scratched some sort of language on his stomach. Would they know how to write Like Sauron's black speech? Maybe
That's why
Adar would.
that's why I thought it was Adar maybe writing that into this poor person's skin.
It
Um,
has to be. It has to be because the other elves can't read it.
no, only he can. So and he does say what it says. It says where is he, which I thought was pretty cool.
Okay, again, this scene went by pretty quick, and now I'm like, oh my God, because so this guy has scratches on his stomach, and I think you and I just figured out it's not Quenya because those elves would have been able to read it. So it's like
It's got to be a
black
black sheep.
writing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's the dark speech of Morgoth, I would assume. But what's crazy is they're like, what does it say? What does it say? And Anatar says, bury him. He just lies. He
Yeah.
just straight up lies. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, he did. Because I have captions on. And I was like, oh, so he's lying about what it says. And I don't know. I was like, Andrea's gonna love this. She's just
Uh-huh.
gonna love it. Because he's very quick to come up with a way to like make his plan go forward. Because if they knew what it actually said, it would make questions. Your boyfriend's pretty smart.
He is, and he smirks at the end of that scene, so it's probably my favorite. He smirks a lot in this episode.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, because he tells the just random elves that it says bury him, but then he goes and talks to Fangirl.
Yeah, he says he can trust her, or he thinks he can trust her. I don't know why.
Yeah. And he tells her what the body really said.
Yeah, where is he?
I would assume that's because he wants her to think that they're looking for Celebrimbor.
Probably because with all of them being fed lies about Celebrimbor being a problem.
Yep. So she's going to be the next person that he is able to fully control, I would think.
Just by touching her, like, and still kind of flirting-ish. Not really. It's more like manipulation, to be honest. But
Yeah, but she thinks it's flirting,
oh yeah,
definitely.
she got
Because
the big eyes.
I was about to say she's making goo goo eyes at him, like
I mean,
big
he
time.
does look good there, but uh,
He does, and his wig is fantastic. That I don't know how much that wig cost. There's no telling, but like it's flawless. It's absolutely flawless. I love it.
me too.
Just in case anybody ever wants to know why we talk about wigs, there have been bad wigs in Game of Thrones and sometimes on House of the Dragon, so we can't help but notice when it's good.
Oh
It's
yeah,
that it's a thing.
and it looks like it would be his natural hair. Like that's how good it is.
Exactly. Yeah, like again, that's the wig that Rhaegar deserved. After that, we go to your other dude.
Adar and Galadriel dinner date is what I called it. I literally said dinner date,
That's
and
perfect.
I also said it gives Elizabeth Swann and Captain Barbossa vibes. The way that they're sitting
Ooh.
and talking, yeah, it totally gave that vibe.
I didn't think of that, but now that you say it, good job. Yes. And it's a lot of food.
There's a lot of food, and some of it looked kind of gross, but some of it looked good.
Yeah, I don't really get that unless the gross food is what orcs eat or something. I'm not really sure. Um, it looked like some was placed there for her and some for him, maybe. I don't know.
And I
It's a
think they
lot.
changed her outfit because her outfit looks different from the previous episode. So I'm assuming they changed her outfit. It looked different.
So how in the hell would they have done that? What did they do? Go send an orc tailor to make something?
Maybe
Okay,
they pre-planned this. I don't
you
know.
know what? I'm just gonna say that there's probably, well, there has to be. There has to be somebody that makes clothes. So we're gonna say it's an orc tailor made her an outfit because
Now
that
I
just
need an
makes me laugh.
episode. Now I just need like a scene where somebody is tailoring them. I need that.
It's probably the orc mom.
Oh yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
orc mom. She's making dresses for Galadriel because that's going to trigger people. Let me say that again, just in case. If this bothers you, there's probably an orc lady that sews because they have banners and they also have clothing. So just let that sink in. Stay mad. All right.
So, so he's talking to her because he's like, you seemed intent on finding Sauron. One might even say consumed by it. And I'm like, might? No, she was consumed by it, 100%. And she says, I resisted. And then I just wanted to say what I really like about what he says after that. He says, for a while, perhaps sooner or later, he sees you, not just who you are, but who you wish to be.
I really love this scene.
Me too.
This scene is so well written. The acting is superb. And we learn so much from this scene. I hope people don't miss out on that. So we have Adar and Galadriel finally. I've been wanting them to have this conversation. I really have. And I was very curious to see how much information he was going to give and how much she would let her guard down. So the fact that they're on opposite ends of a table makes it perfect. Perfect. Okay. I liked this. So man, this is good to me. Adar is talking to Galadriel and he says, an ocean of color against which anything else feels forever thereafter. And then she says, a dull gray.
Yep.
And that was the moment I was like, okay, they have common ground. It just happened right there. And I thought that was so cool because that was him admitting that he had been under Sauron's spell in the same way. And that was her saying, yeah, me too. So it was like, whoa, oh my gosh. And then the next part, like, really got to me because they're just continuing the conversation. And he asked her, what did he promise you?
Yeah.
Because he knows he's going to promise something. And she said an army. And then she wants to know what he promised. She doesn't say it, but the look on her face, like she's curious. So he's like, do you want to know what he promised me? Children. And at that point, you realize it's like a dark version. It's like, it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of giving a little bit of Miri Mazdur. Like, I'm going to grant this wish for you, but it's not going to be what you think it is. Because, like, she wanted an army. Well, she didn't specify, so there's an orc army. He wanted children. Well, you didn't specify what kind of children, so you have orc children. So it's like, I'll give you what you want, but it's really not what you want.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Really, really good dialogue. And he tells her that he's still got Morgoth's crown.
Yep.
You mentioned he seems to think that with the crown and the rings that he can defeat him for good, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why he thinks that. I don't know why. I guess because Sauron did not touch those rings. So I guess he thinks this and the crown together will do that. And I'm like, well, I mean, it might. I guess you could try.
The crown, I don't understand. The rings I get, because that's 3 very powerful rings that he hasn't touched, like he said. The crown, I don't know, and we'll probably find out later, I would assume. But
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the crown yet, but we'll see.
But obviously, that's probably how he's going to get his crown back. It is what it is.
Well, yeah, and Adar knows that Halbrand is Sauron.
Oh. And he also knows he's in Eregion, and I'm curious to know how he knows that. Is it because of maybe well, no. How does he know?
Well, I remember, I think in episode 1, Halbrand said he was going to go there and talk to the elves or whatever, so maybe that's how he knows, because he's like, well, because before he believed Halbrand was just human, but now he's like, nope.
Okay, and that was the final piece he needed.
I think so.
He?
I think
okay.
I could be wrong. I think that's what it is, though.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. That's why he seems so pleased to know that. Okay, that makes sense. So he knows where he is, which also goes along with the title of the episode.
Yes.
So you want to go into the next one?
Yeah, Numenor. I really like the Numenor scenes in this episode because it's all very cool. This one is where Elendil is prisoner. He's in some really ratty clothing, too. I didn't like that. He's a really good-looking older man, and he should be in better clothing. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this whole scene is giving me Joffrey and Ned Stark because we have
Yes.
Fenrizon with a bunch of, Numenoreans. They're all standing there talking about how all his crimes that he's committed and that the worst of all, apparently, is high treason because of, wanting Muriel to be queen, I guess is high treason. He said he's not going to do that because he said, basically, I'm going to set you free if you renounce your crimes and pledge loyalty to him. And I like the crowd. The crowd, we get to hear some of what they say. One of them says he doesn't deserve to be put to death, and then somebody else is like, "Well, maybe." I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Look, I'm so glad you said something to me about Ned because I see it, and I see it in another scene too that we'll talk about. It's even the same camera angle as
Yes,
they used with Ned. Good
yes.
catch on that, Andrea. That's a damn good catch
And I know I
because
said
it's the same.
it is, and I know I said in the previous episode that Kevin, we're gonna call him Kevin,
Yep.
is Joffrey too. He gives me Joffrey vibes as well, but his dad is definitely Joffrey in this scene. There's no way he's
Oh
not.
my God. You are so right. I mean, it gives Ned's treason so much that it's like you're almost like having like flashbacks because he doesn't look completely unlike Ned. I mean, you have
No.
like, the very like strong jaw, nice looking older dude, and it's just like, whoa. And because they put Ned in like, some kind of rags and stuff like they do when they put you in a cell. So it's very similar. I thought
Oh,
that was really cool.
and a scene that we'll talk about later. He kind of sounds like Sean Bean a little bit. It's very eerie. So basically, Elendil does renounce his crimes, but he's not going to show fealty to this man. He's like, no, I'm only here for Muriel. Muriel's the rightful heir, and he says the only traitor here is you. I loved that.
Yep. Okay,
And
so
then, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to make another point. Okay, Andrea and I were probably not the number one Ned fans, and we're talking about show Ned. So we basically just saw Elendil do what show Ned should have done and not just like cave and say, it's treason because that's what led to the end of Ned and his head. All right, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it should have been that way. So basically, this guy, I don't know his name. I need to like really go in and look at his name. The guy that's like kind of like a hand of the king sort of thing.
Yeah.
He basically says, if the faithful, which he's talking about, like the faithful to Valar, if the faithful wishes to live by the old traditions, they should die by them. And he shows a book, and it's got a picture of the sea worm. So I guess they're gonna have the Valar judge him.
Okay, this is so interesting,
It is
Andrea. So that sea worm is how old?
like thousands and thousands of years old, I think.
And we just thought it was a random sea worm that we saw in a previous episode. We just thought it was something, kind of creepy, kind of cool that hangs out in the waters around Numenor. Oh no, no. This sea worm has lore, Andrea.
He has lore. There's a book of lore. I want that book of lore so bad.
I do too. I do too. I want to know how long the sea worm's been there. I want to know how in the hell the sea worm, his opinions are so important that it's written in a book. Like,
And
I'm
I
so
even write when
curious.
we see what happens with the sea worm. I even write, I wonder what he saw. I seriously want to know what he saw that made him
Yes.
go, yes, I'm on your side. You're fine. You're good.
Oh, I have a parallel when we get there that you'll love. So we're vaguely under the impression that the trial has something to do with a sea worm, and
Yes.
we're left with that, but we're very excited.
Yes, it's very cool.
After that,
You can talk about Gandalf
after that we have Gandalf and
and Tommy. I call him Tommy.
yes,
Sorry.
I really like him. I
He's so
really
cute.
do. Look, if anybody complains about Tom Bombadil, I don't get it.
he
Because you're
wasn't
right.
he wasn't jovial really. I mean, he had some moments where he was funny, but like the snoring, like snoring, who's snoring? Um, but
Yeah.
but he was serious. It's a serious situation, so I was fine with it.
I was too, because what we have here is the same character, but in a different situation. So that's why he's not so jovial, because now he's highly involved. So Gandalf is having visions of Nori, unsettling visions. And what's so interesting is Tom Bombadil tells him the secret fire whispers to us if we have the ears to hear.
I wrote that down too. I loved it. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, he keeps referencing fire, and we know Gandalf ends up with the ring that represents fire. So
Hmm.
it makes sense. And Gandalf is very unsettled because he specifically asks if his visions are going to happen or if they're just possibilities. And I'm so glad he said that because we otherwise wouldn't know if it was one or the other. And
True.
so Tom tells him, no, your visions are what's going to happen. So, which is very interesting because the Palantir is showing possibilities. Well, what Gandalf has, that's reality. And he's not very happy with that because his visions of Nori are not pleasant.
No.
And this is super interesting too. So Tom tells him the visions are real, and Gandalf immediately is like, okay, so I have to learn to master the fire. And Tom's like, no, why would it need you as a master? See,
Exactly.
that's the thing. No, you can't master the fire. You have to learn how to use it, which is so interesting. And Tom tells him, every trial so far, you have failed. And I was like, whoa, this is big. So Tom apparently knows he was sent there because of the evil that has arisen. And apparently Gandalf has already been tested and failed. So this is straight up from the Valar. And so Tom is now doing things to give Gandalf a much better chance of defeating evil. And to
Yep.
me, that makes perfect sense of why he's not so jovial and he's not singing. It's a big deal.
But he's still kind of funny. Like he says, Tom will show you the way. Follow old Tom. He'll show you the way. And I'm like, see, he talked in third person. I love when he does that.
Yeah. He's still the same person, still the same character. He's just doing what he needs to do. But again, he's still Tom Bombadil. So I thought that was a great scene. I really liked it.
Oh yeah, me too. And then we see Nori right after that, which I think is cool how they transfer to each character
Mm-hmm.
in these episodes. It's very well done. Um, Nori is talking to Gundabal, and it's a really sweet scene. But I like how what I really got out of it though, like so Nori's just like, just get up and leave. They can't, because that's what Harfoots do, but they can't. That's just not how they do it, because she's like, this place is not just where we live; it's our home, you know. And
Yep.
that, I think that hardened Nori a little bit, because but also she doesn't understand because she's never had a home, so she doesn't know what that's like.
You
But
ready
I
for
liked the
my oh,
yes,
go
go
ahead.
go ahead. I just said I like the talk of the trees and how, like, I grew this tree. I buried my husband under this tree. I'll be buried under the tree too. Like, it's really cool. Go
It's
ahead.
very cool. I got a theory.
Go ahead.
Every single thing she tells them or tells her, everything she tells her is about how they can't leave. I mean, they have their loved ones buried there. Like, there's nostalgia. It's been passed down. You know what I think?
Yeah.
You know how Tom said that he lived there and now it's all sand?
Yeah.
Gandalf is going to return that place to how it used to be, and it's the Shire. It's already the Shire.
You think it's already the Shire? That's a really
Yep.
good theory. Okay, I like that.
That's my theory because I think when Gandalf finally does get control and he can remove the evil of the other wizard, then it will be lush and green again. And you have the Shire. That's
Oh,
my
I love
theory.
that.
That's my theory. We'll
Okay, that's a
see.
good theory.
And it would be perfect because they already have hobbit holes and the entrances round and all that jazz. So I think we'll have to wait quite some time to see that, but
I will
that's my
cry. I will
theory.
for sure cry because I want them to be happy, you know?
I do
Uh,
too. And if they leave their buried loved ones and stuff, they wouldn't be happy. So I
no.
think it's that. But yeah, go ahead and talk about the next scene. It's
Oh,
cute.
yeah, we see Poppy and nobody talking. And I want to know what they're doing with that snake. What is that? What are they
I put
doing?
that. I said, she's just holding a snake.
Yeah, and he's sticking something or trying to take something out of the snake. Is it like the venom? It is.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's a venom,
it
but
is.
they're just. All I said was like I just really liked that they are doing that with the snake. Although I don't know how she could handle just sitting there with the snake,
Mm-mm.
but she asks him why he's called nobody, and that's because he didn't really have like that. You know, I just didn't have a name, and I was trying to figure a name for myself, so I just said it. um, and they have a moment.
It was cute.
It was. I love that. I haven't seen anyone complain about it yet. Although they do say that they don't like the Harfoot scenes. I do. Um, I don't think they're unimportant.
The Harfoots are very important because they represent all of the different groups that are at risk. So the Harfoots show us that it's not just elves and some men and evil. There's also different groups that are going to be wiped out if evil prevails. And I don't think a lot of people are understanding that. They have a very strong purpose, and it's to show, hey, if Gandalf doesn't figure out how to utilize the fire and we don't have all these things come together, all these little people that are innocent mostly, they're going to be gone. And I don't
Yep.
think people really understand that you're supposed to get that from that. It's supposed to show that Middle Earth has lots of different types of living beings. That's the purpose of why we saw the Ents, and we've seen an eagle, and all of that would be affected by that. So I like the scenes. I don't know why other people are hating on it so bad. I don't think they understand it, maybe.
They talk about how Nori has said that they're talking about the stranger, saying that the
Mm-hmm.
stranger is very important, and the many times that you say something, I start to believe it, and then she says we're gonna fight for it. And I'm like, I guess fight for. I don't know what they're talking about. I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding the scene.
Okay, that scene went by really fast. Let
Yeah,
me see. And I can cut this. Let me Google and see if anybody's answered that.
I wonder if it's they're gonna help fight those.
Oh my God. The Venom.
Yeah, the
Oh my
venom.
God. They're gonna do poison tipped arrows with the
Okay,
Venom.
that's good.
It
They're
just
gonna
hit
fight.
me.
So
It just
I'm
hit
assuming
me.
that Nori and Poppy are gonna stay and help them fight.
Oh my God. Like that just clicked in my head. That's it.
That makes sense.
Okay. That's it. See, I have this thing and I tell Andrea this all the time. I'll have 50% of something and she'll have 50% of something. But when we talk, it all comes together. This happens all the time and it's fantastic. That's why this podcast is so damn good. I don't care if that sounds arrogant. This podcast is
No,
awesome
it's
because
iron.
this is my best friend. This person understands me on a level that is just different. Okay. It's just different. So we both wondered about the snake. You noticed venom. I was like, it's probably venom. And it's like, but what are they going to do with that? And then we kind of file it away.
Yeah.
But then Nori and Poppy talk about how it's basically, hey, are we going to fight for this guy or are we just going to distance ourselves from him because that's who the Easterlings are looking for? And they decide, no, we're going to fight. That venom is going on arrows.
I'm
I can promise you that. And I love that. Look at
that
them.
I'm so excited for this.
Hey, look, all the people that are talking about them like it's boring, maybe pay a little closer attention. How about that?
And then we get to see Gandalf again with Tom Bombadil,
Yay.
and
Yay.
it's time for him to find because the Dark Wizard found his staff. So now it's time for Gandalf to find his.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the Dark Wizard found his staff with Tom? It kind of sounds like Tom saying that.
Yes,
And but here's the trippy thing. Tom has more power than anybody. That means Tom knew he had to go through those steps with the Dark Wizard to get to this point with Gandalf. Isn't that trippy?
very trippy. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I know. So, and he knows he has to do all these things. I told you, it's like, it reminds me of Doctor Strange. Like, you got Tom Bombadil and he's got yellow boots and he sings songs, but in reality, his head is containing all these different scenarios and stuff. It's just incredible. That's why I love Tom. I do. Ooh, I love Tom Bombadil. Um, so yeah, he tells Gandalf the Dark Wizard found his staff, which to me, it's very similar to the Rings of Power. It's a way that you can contain your magic and make it do exactly what you want. And obviously, the longer you have it, probably the better you are, all that. And he says, you'll find your true staff only when the vision of your heart is single to the service of the secret fire. Again, secret fire, secret fire, Gandalf's ring, Gandalf's ring. I mean, there it is again. And it's very obvious that he's connected with fire, just
Yeah.
like Gandalf. And of course, it's Tom. So Tom walks him out and there's a lot of possible staffs.
Yep.
Um,
Could be there for
it's
months.
yeah, honestly, there's nothing but dead trees. Also, I would like to do a little note. The We learned from the Ents that they don't want anyone taking from a living tree. And then we see Tom and Gandalf, and he's going to pick out a staff. And all those are dead trees, so it would not be taking from a living creature in this world. I thought that was a really cool thing to add. And I don't know if other people noticed, but I did because I really like the Ents. So,
That is really cool.
well, that's why that tree ate him last time because he's
Yep.
like, "No, that's mine, man." It's like that tree was like, "Dude, you're trying to cut off a toe. Like, can you not? Can you not?" So Gandalf's not going to take somebody's toe. He's going to take a staff from a tree that's already expired.
Um,
Uh,
yes. And Gandalf is worried about Nori.
yeah, talk about
And
that. He's really got a dilemma, big
he's got a
time.
dilemma because his choice, he basically has what I like what Tom says here. He says there are times when a path becomes two.
Yeah.
So, and you have to choose, right? So Nori, he thinks is going to be in danger, which I think she will be because again, we're going to see her probably fight. So she will be in danger. And I believe these visions are true, just like Tom says. So his
Mm-hmm.
choice is he can get this staff, which is his trial. Although I wonder, I'm very curious now. Now that I've watched the episode, I've read some comments and people have said they think that his trial is actually to save Nori, not get his staff.
I don't agree with that.
You
That
don't
is,
agree with that?
no, a lot of people are doing like deep, deep theories. And I think this story is a little more plainly laid out.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a false thing. Like if we were talking House of the Dragon, yes, the
I
answer
feel
would be
like
yes.
Well, I feel like Tom would not like do so much work to get him away from Nori if Nori was his actual trial. So yeah, I don't agree with it either. I just thought it would be cool to put that in to see what some people are saying. They're not complaining
Yeah.
about it. They just think that his trial might actually be her. But if he
I
goes to her, he'll fail. So I
right.
believe
And
that.
I don't like that's a good thought for people to have because there are lots of series that are sci-fi fantasy, things like that. And there are trials like that where you
True.
think there's two paths, but there's actually just one or three. So I think it's only natural for us to wonder about that stuff. But I'm like you, Tom wouldn't be going through this much and telling him he's already failed and giving him this information if he's not trying to steer him to the right path.
Well, yeah, and he even says, because Gandalf says she is my friend, and he's like, your friend or your destiny?
And there you go.
So it can't. I mean, yes, Nori I think is important to his story, but like I think this staff, he needs the staff. So
Well, just a little bit of book lore. So the Shire gets sacked in The Lord of the Rings. It's not in the films. There's only like a vision that it might get sacked. It actually does. And I think, oh God, I don't want to get them too riled up. Okay, so in the books, Gandalf knows that the Shire is going to get sacked. Like, Galadriel probably knows. Yet they can't do anything about it because they have got to stay focused on Sauron. This is the same thing. He's going to know that Nori and Poppy are in danger, but he cannot just go to that because the bigger picture is so much bigger. So, yeah, by the way, I did know that the Shire got sacked. I have read the books.
So people can stop saying you haven't read the books.
Oh God! Look! I thank you, every single person that listens to us. We very much appreciate it. The little bit of when I emphasize something, it's just because the hate comments are still rolling in, and it's fine. But I'm petty, so I do like to poke the bear a little bit. Totally fine.
Follow the hosts on all social media at Southern Mother of Dragons and at the Princess of Dragonstone.
We'll go to Khazad-dûm with the dwarves. The dwarves are still hacking away, it appears. And there's piles and piles and piles of gold. So much gold being brought to the king. Like I'm just like, your greed is showing.
Yeah, like what's he gonna do with all that?
I don't
like.
I picture him like, okay, have you ever seen this episode of SpongeBob where Squidward is like, he finally admits that he likes Krabby Patties and he's in a room full of Krabby Patties and he just lays in it and eats it all? That's what I feel like he's going to do. Not eat the gold, but just lay in the gold and just
oh my God.
and look at it. Yeah.
I love that. That's perfect. That it's you know what I think of?
Huh.
Scrooge McDuck swimming in his money.
That's perfect too. Yes.
Oh, we're children.
That's fine.
Oh, that's funny.
Well,
I mean, it's so much he can't do anything with. He's just piling it up,
and he's reveling in it. It's so crazy to me. Good acting. But hey, my boy's here too, so you know.
Very true. Oh, did you like his throne? I put a note. I like the throne. He has a cool throne.
He does have a cool throne, and I do like his crown.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna agree. You know me. I'm gonna notice the throne. It is what it is.
It is a cool throne. And the gold, I don't like how crowded the gold looks around it, though. It's just kind of So Durin is here, Prince Durin, too. And he thought his dad summoned him, but actually it was Anatar. Yay. So basically he just says, hey, I need more mithril because, you know, war is coming to Middle Earth. Like they were just, Eregion is going to be, you know, attacked. So he's like, we need more mithril to create the rings. And he said he offered like a steady supply of timber for mithril because they're still working on the like digging the mines.
Yep.
So
and the repairs.
The repairs. So you would need wood, right? Or he says, or perhaps Khazad-dûm would prefer something more precious.
I'm so glad you pointed that out to me. It is so obvious.
He says it twice in this episode. Twice.
Yes. And I'm so glad you brought that up to me because it is definitely put in for us to notice. Definitely.
I want somebody to interview Charlie Vickers and ask him how he felt about saying precious. Like, I really want to hear him say how he felt. He
acts the hell out of it. He loves it. I mean, dude is acting the hell out of this part. It's great.
But so basically Durin's like, no, we should talk about this in private. And he's like, well, and the king's like, no, we don't need to talk about it in private. I've already decided about what to do with this. And he says no, which was kind of shocking at first. I was like, what? And Anatar is just like, huh, well, okay. Like, I think this is part of his plan.
Mm-hmm.
And because, he glances at the fire. And I was like, that's the Belrog in the fire.
Yep.
So he knows what's going to happen. So he's like, well, good luck to you. Basically.
Peace out.
He's out. He smirks again in this scene. I'm like, guy, you are smirking so much.
You're all going to die. Peace out.
Peace out.
Like, okay, all right. Like, he's not even wasting time. He's like, I just came here so things would move along. All right, guys. Bye.
Well, even the king's like, they will be back. War is coming, and the army that bears the weapons and armor of Mithril is all but invincible. We can name our price. So he's got more greed. He's just so greedy. And he does have his senses according to him. This isn't sense at all.
No, and what is so interesting is Prince Durin is like, okay, fine, then take the ring off. Take it off. And his dad's like, no. And he just keeps at it, take it off. And what is crazy is what King Durin says. He says, it is mine. It was given to me, which almost exactly mimics what Bilbo says in Lord of the Rings. And even the background music sounds very similar to the music that plays when you see the One Ring. And that's when Bilbo is hesitant to give the ring away. So you can definitely tell that King Durin, he's pretty far gone.
He's not there anymore. And I mean, so Prince Durin tries to take the ring off of his father, and he pushes him.
Oh yeah. He definitely pushes him. How hard does he push him, Andrea? So far,
apparently the ring is that, or he's that strong with the ring. So, whew.
Oh my! Like pushes him so far, like he hits a wall, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's definitely the ring. He's basically a walking ring now.
Yeah,
he's gone. He just pushed his son so hard that dwarves don't get hurt as easy as people. But if that was me or you, we'd be having to go to the ER. That was a lot. After that, we go to Numenor and sort of kind of Ned. Go ahead.
So Elendil and his daughter Arian are down there. You can hear the horns blowing because they're trying to summon the sea worm. And she says they are calling for the sea worm, and they're gonna cast him into the sea to face trial by the abyss. So I really like that whole line there.
I just want to put this in really quick. Did his daughter give you Sansa vibes?
Yes. Okay. I wrote that at some point. I said that here, actually, somewhere here.
Okay, I love that. Love that.
I do too. She's very Sansa here, although Sansa's a lot easier to like.
True.
She tells him that King Pharazôn, usurper Pharazôn is what I want to call him, that mercy still stands, but obviously Elendil's like, no, it's hardly mercy to ask a man to set his integrity aflame. I really like that line, and that's where I thought he sounded like Ned Stark.
Yep.
And then she hugs him and she's crying and she's like, swallow your pride. And I'm like, this is not pride. She doesn't know what pride is if she thinks this. And even he says that we can no longer speak if after all of this, all you see is pride.
She is revolting. She gets a couple moments where you're like, okay, you really do want your dad to be free, but then she bounces back and you're like, ugh. Well,
I mean, she even says the king's like, his hatred for me is hatred for you. And I'm like, it's not, he doesn't hate you. Even people in the fandom thinks that he hates his own daughter. I'm like, no, people are missing out on this show because it's not hatred. He is a very loyal person and he believes in what he believes in, and also I think he's in love with Muriel, so that's also part of it. But it's just it's very much like he believes in this. It's not pride. It's I can't think of the word, but it's not like that. And he doesn't hate his daughter. He doesn't. He's an
honorable man.
He's honorable, and she doesn't see that. She never will see that.
No, she would have no problem lying, doing whatever to get her way. He's not like that. He can't do it. He has morals. That's the problem for her.
And
And
she's like, yeah,
she just
sorry.
doesn't. I
And
was just gonna say she doesn't.
no, she doesn't. And she's like, I had to beg the king to go see her, to bring her, to see her and bring her. And she's talking about Muriel. So she brought Muriel down there, which I thought was really cool of her to do. But I think she expected something different. Like, I think she expected Muriel to, like, get him to bow down to the king.
Yep.
And he's like, nope, not doing it.
She wanted it in a nice little package that she wouldn't piss off Farazan and Kevin. She wanted it to all be this nice little way, and she could play both sides. And that's not life. It doesn't go like that.
Yeah, I mean, even Muriel does try to command him to bow to Farazan, but he's like, no, you're the rightful heir, you're the true heir. And I believe she is too. So she's just a better person than all these people.
Much better. And we finally do get confirmation that they have a thing for each other.
Oh, God, there's no way they don't. Because she's like, what about my heart? And I'm like, you're going to make me cry right now.
I know. Because it's been implied, but now it's like, okay, yeah, no. They're in love. They're definitely in love.
And
it was sweet.
It is. And I like how he says the sea is always right. That was just, I just like the lines in this episode. They're just really well written.
You like the sea is always right because it's giving the Ironborn.
That's very true.
Oh, totally. After that, we go back to the dwarves. And we have Disa, who does something that I had no idea what would happen. She is committed to stopping them from digging more.
Yep.
And I personally thought, because she sings a little bit and it vibrates, and they're like, hey, is that supposed to scare us? I thought more of her singers were going to show up.
That's what I thought too, but it's literally just her and Durin down there, so
yep.
they're my couple goal, I swear to God.
Oh yeah. No, they're great. I really love them. But she sings again and she summoned bats.
Yep. Bats. And they like scare him
thousands.
away. Yep. And I like Durin comes out and he's like, I love you, and she's like, love me later.
Oh, that was so cute. That was such a cute line. I really like that. She came up with a way to stop them without anybody getting hurt. So yes. I thought that was sweet. She's great.
I hope they don't have to result in fighting, but I feel like at some point they'll have to.
Yeah, but she's trying really hard not to let it get that far, but, Balrog. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Now we're going to the sea worm time.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite. This scene and then obviously the very end is my favorite.
Kind of explain what this is.
So basically, he has to be judged by this sea worm. The sea worm has been used to judge like their crimes, basically. And so what he did, he's going to be judged, right? Well, Muriel steps in, which this, to me, feels like she is the best person in the entire world for doing this. She steps in because his crime was committed in her name. I have the right to face the Valar's judgment in his place. And she looks beautiful. She's not wearing much color. It's just like a white dress. Her hair is down. She just looks just beautiful.
Yep.
And first they're like, is this even real? Like, can she do this? It's in the law, basically in the Valar law, like the book, I guess it says that she has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to accept it. So they let her go. And I was freaking out at first because I was like, I mean, I don't want anything to happen to you, but so they put her, she goes into the water and they wait, and the sea worm comes through the water and yanks her down, all the way down, and kind of just stares at her, and like touches her. And I like, they show his eyes and then they show her, and I'm like, what does he see in her?
Okay. This is what I saw. So she's face to face with the sea worm.
Yes.
And then it shows the sea worm's eye.
Yep.
Which is exactly the same as when Jon Snow meets Drogon.
Yeah.
It's the same scene. All right, then next scene is Muriel underwater, and the sea worm roars at her,
Yes.
screams at her. Same scene as Daenerys and Drogon in the fighting pits. It was a
Oh.
test. It's a test. Same. I mean, literally same. I can put it together and it would be like, okay, this is the exact same thing. So it's apparently an ancient being that can probably see what kind of person you are, get a vibe for you, see what's in your heart. So it looks at her, then it tests her. She doesn't flinch.
Nope.
And then it's like, okay, yep,
You're good.
you're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
and then she goes up and lands on the. I mean, she's good. And the Valar has deemed her innocent, and I really like what Elendil says. He says, "Queen of the Sea."
All right, are you ready for this? I don't
Yeah.
know if you're ready. Now we know why the sea worm was attacking. When we see Galadriel meet Halbrand, the sea worm could tell evil was there.
Yep.
Yep. Now that makes sense. This
Wow.
show's a lot deeper than people give it credit for.
Like thinking that that Sauron is just flirting with people, and I'm like, no, he's really doing work to manipulate people. If you can tell, this episode especially shows it. So
Yeah, and so like the sea worm thing, that goes back to the first season. And so now we understand. We just thought it was a thing that was just attacking anybody. Nope.
nope.
No. It was attacking because it's like, oh, this feels like Sauron.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then pretty quickly we see Farazan with a
With the
Palantir.
Palantir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he puts his hand on the Palantir. And
He sees Mordor and the Halbrand, and it's very interesting.
Yep. I'm trying to figure out what I think that is. Is he just seeing that Sauron is becoming more powerful, or is this some sort of communication?
I think it's communication. Because like I
It's
said, I think when the rings are done, he's gonna go there and give them the rings. So, I don't know if we're gonna see that this season, but
I think it's communication too. I think you're right.
yes,
Which either Sauron has a Palantir or it's just some sort of thing he can do because he's so powerful. But yeah, because you kind of get a vision of like the eye of Sauron. You see Halbrand, and it's like, okay, yeah. But that's all he sees. That's it.
it's important. I think it's very important.
Yep, and it just shows that Farazan, or as you would like to say, Farquaad, is pure evil.
He is very evil, and he will be Numenore's downfall.
Yep, and Kevin and Earring, because I never remember her name. I want you to talk about the next scene. It's really damn good.
So we get Galadriel and Adar, and she talks about how, yes, Halbrand is Sauron. And she talked about Elrond bringing her ring to the elves because they're going to bring the elves out to fight Sauron. Well, I like how she says Nenya. It's really cool how she says the name of the ring. And then she says, this will give us a momentary advantage. She says, us. And he's like, us. And I'm
that
like,
was
yeah,
a big deal. That was a big damn
huge.
deal.
And I haven't seen anybody complain about it yet. And I'm like, what?
They didn't notice yet.
They didn't notice yet. So she says, you and I will eradicate all trace of Sauron of this world. And then he's like, and then what? And she goes, and any of the rings touched by him will be destroyed. But that's not what he cares about. He wants to know what will happen for him and his children. They want to be left alone. Will your High King let us go back to Mordor and live, or will he continue his raid on there after Sauron? Gilgadaddy did say that he can't face both Adar and Sauron, so he does at some point want to deal with both of them.
Good point. Very good point, Andrea. Look at that. Yes.
The problem I see there is Galadriel is very important, but she's not to the point where she can talk Gilgadaddy out of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think she'll be able to.
No, and I think Adar picks up on that because she hesitates. Yeah,
She does hesitate, and he says, your drive to prove virtue will work right into Sauron's designs. And she says, you're lying. I think he's trying to work everybody into his designs. So either way, like, yeah, her pride could do that. But I see her developing so much better. So I don't know.
Well, it's kind of ironic that he says that because his pride
Yes.
is stopping him from listening to her.
I mean, well, first we see a whole ass army because she's like, your legion cannot face Sauron. And he's like, oh, you think this is all I brought? And then he shows everything. That's like so many different legions of orcs. I'm like, holy crap. It was beautiful. It was really cool to see it all. And then she talks about Eregion's probably already under Sauron, and they are. They're already being manipulated by him crazily. He says that Eregion and Sauron will fall. Like, he will go down with it. And she's like, no, this is what Sauron wants. He has no army. And I'm like, you should listen, because this is his design too. This is his design to lure you. You are a lure. Your army is a lure. He's going to probably kill him and take your army. That's what's going to happen. This is what he wants, because he has nothing over there. We see it. And Adar doesn't listen.
He won't listen. He will not listen. And I honestly think this is what I wrote down. He won't listen. Protection has outweighed reason for Adar.
And
that's
very
how I feel.
Frustrating for me because I'm a huge fan. And I get it. I totally get why he wants to get rid of Sauron. I mean, it makes sense. But this is very obvious. It's very obvious what Sauron's doing. So it's like, you really don't know what you're playing at fire here, you know?
I just feel like he is so tired of, worrying about all the orcs that look up to him and look to him for protection. He thought he had already killed Sauron. Yeah. And I think he is a lot like Galadriel in season 1. And revenge is very much guiding him, more so than even reason. He's on a mission, basically. I mean, he's on a mission to carve them out of place and get rid of the one biggest threat.
And I like him. I really do. And it's really good writing, but it's sad because I'm like, this is going to be your end. If you don't listen, you're going to die. So then they show Eregion right after that, because they show all the orcs, because he blows the horn and lets them know, like, hey, it's time to go. And the guards see that they're under attack, so they ring a bell, and chaos. Everything is chaos. Everybody's running around screaming, and Celebrimbor is still working on the rings. He's drawing. But he's working on a design of the rings. Before we see that, we see Anatar looking outside, and he cuts himself. I don't know why he does that. I just rewatched it, and I still don't get why he cuts himself.
I don't either. I was going to ask you. I don't know what that symbolized and what that did.
Because we never see it again. So maybe it's something else. I don't know. But I watched it again, and I'm like, I still don't understand. It's got to be important.
Yeah. I mean, my best guess is that it has something to do with the magic he does after this, but I feel like it's something bigger, like you said.
It's got to be something bigger than that, but either way, I really thought it was interesting. And then, so Celebrimbor hears the chaos that's outside, right? And Anatar shuts, because he tries to open the window, and Anatar shuts him in, and he's like, all right, how's it coming along? Like, and he's like, what, don't you hear what's going on outside? And he's like, I've got it all under control. And he's like, Celebrimbor's like, no, that's up to me to decide. And I'm like, yeah, finally, get up and do something. And I think it's crazy that Anatar is just keeping him inside. Like, that's just insane to me. Like, he tries to stop him, and he pushes him, because he's like, I have had quite enough of you telling me where I belong. And he pushes him against the wall. And then they have this like moment of staring at each other. I don't think Celebrimbor really wanted to hurt him. Like, it kind of looked like he was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
But then Anatar tries to stop him again, and he says, "Unhand me, friend." And then he leaves, and Anatar says, "Leave this tower now, and when the men of Middle Earth fall, I swear to you, every soul in the seen or unseen world will know it was you who was the architect of their demise." So he's trying to get him to obviously like manipulate him more. But I really liked that line. So Celebrimbor does make it outside, but you see Anatar kind of like he closes his eyes, does this like breathing thing, like he's obviously doing something, some powerful thing. And then he opens his eyes, and when Celebrimbor goes outside, you see it's all nice and sunny, and everybody's laughing and playing, and like families are out and about. And I'm like, how are you not thinking this is crazy? Because you just heard screaming outside. Why is nobody out screaming out now? You know?
Yeah, the only thing I could figure is that he's already spaced out.
That could be
So
too.
he's spaced out, and also nobody's probably ever done anything like that to him, so he has no reason not to believe what he sees. But
True.
I did put a note, I put a star when Celebrimbor is seeing a Region as it typically was. I put a note that said, Andrea and I would definitely live here.
Yes.
It was like perfect.
It
It was
was
beautiful.
beautiful, and
It
it
really
looked
was.
peaceful, and definitely not the chaos that we see later. But
No.
so Anatar comes out and he says, "I sought to craft objects of great power, and I failed. I came to Eregion not because the Valar needed you, but because I did." And the Celebrimbor is like, "Well, I can't make more rings." And I don't recall Anatar getting Mithril. How did he like steal it somehow?
I don't know. Again, I was going to ask you, how did
I
he
didn't
get
see.
it?
I watched that scene several times, and I didn't see him get any mithril. And he said, "What's his face? What's that dwarf? Narvi
Yeah,
gave it to him." And I'm like, "When? When
I
did
don't
Narvi give
know.
you this? Like, he must be lying. I don't know.
But how did he get it? I have a note here that said, was the scene cut maybe?
I
I don't
think a scene
know.
was cut, but then why would they keep the mithril? Well, they have to put the mithril in because how else is he going to convince him to make the rings?
He had to have stolen it
He had
when
to
he
have
was
stolen it,
there.
but I didn't see him. I'm gonna have to rewatch that scene again. I didn't see him steal anything though. So,
Neither did I. I don't know. I have no
Uh,
idea.
So, so he gives him that, and he gives him the little hammer thing. It's a really cool hammer. And he says the rings of power will be deemed the most precious creations in all Middle Earth. I wrote that because that's my favorite line out of all of that. The rings of power will be deemed the most precious. Like that's the second time he says precious.
Ooh.
And then Calibrimbar
That's a
just is like,
lot.
okay, well, I'll go inside and, whatever. I'll go back to my La La Land and create the rings. And shuts the door. And then, you see the brightness and then it goes to dark. And that's probably my most favorite part because it just is so cool. The contrast between the nicety of this area that he created for him and then the chaos, and he's so excited about the chaos, like he's got a smirk on his face the entire time, and he walks up to the tower and sees it all, and the orcs are out in the forest and they're creating those what are they, fireballs,
Mm-hmm.
and they shoot the fireballs at Eregion.
Talk about for a second, talk about what you saw some people saying about the transition from day to night because it was done with practical effects.
So they made fun of it because they're like, well, this is how like $200 million show, well, probably more than that. They thought this was all CGI'd, but basically all they did was turn off the lights.
Practical effects look better at
Than
certain
CGI.
scenes.
Yes.
Yes, it was a choice made so it would look more real. Yes, they could have darkened it, but sometimes that just doesn't come out looking right or too dark.
And I thought it was great. I mean, it was so cool seeing him like kind of smile, right? Like he is not smirking evilly, but he's like kind of smiling. He's looking around, and then he turns and it goes to dark, and you just see him walk, and his hair is flowing, and they play that song. I don't know what song it is, but it's a really cool song, and I like his walk. He has definitely made a Sauron walk, kind of like
Oh, he
Daemon
has.
Targaryen with his walk. There's no way he hasn't, because that is just a cool walk, and he's got a smirk on his face. Like it's just such a cool scene. He doesn't say anything. It's very good acting.
It really is, and I feel like people are looking at the wrong things. I feel like if it was done with CGI, then they'd be complaining that it wasn't done with practical effects. There's a lot of people that it doesn't matter what the show does, they're going to be negative,
Yeah.
sadly. I think this episode was great. There were some scenes that were really dark and hard for me to see. I get that some need to be super dark, but there was this was a lot of information, and I really love Tom also. And we learned so much about so many different groups, and it's starting to get crazy. Charlie Vickers did a phenomenal job. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
I gave it a 10 out of 10 because Sauron stole the show for me, but I liked everything in the episode. Like Adar and Galadriel have really good chemistry. I liked seeing the whole legions of orcs. I can't wait for the elves. I really can't wait for the elves. I really miss the elves in this episode, so I really cannot wait for next episode because I know because the battles are happening and Gilgaladdy's got to come in and save the day, so we got to do this.
Oh yeah,
and Elrond. I want to see Elrond fighting because I saw in the trailer that he fights, so that's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, he definitely fights. I think the elven army is going to be epic.
Yeah,
it is.
I like the way they fight.
Anytime you see the elves, they always move in like perfect unison, and it's always just cool. It's cool. It's just elves are cool. So, what do you think we're going to have in the next episode?
Battles. We're going to see the elves probably first. I want to see Arondir more. I don't know if we're going to see Gandalf get his staff, but that would be kind of cool if he got it right away, but I don't know. Oh, I forget the names of the other hobbit. I'm going to call them hobbits because that's what they are. What are they called?
Stoors.
I think we're going to see their the thing with the because the Dark Wizard's heading there too, so we got to see him at some point.
Right, and Tom wants to stop the Dark Wizard from joining up with Sauron. So I think the Harfoots and the Stoors are going to fight the Easterlings, and that's brave of them because at least one of them is going to end up being a Nazgul, those Easterlings with the mask on, or the wizard. I don't know what direction they're going to go with him. I'm really surprised they haven't shown him again, but I would assume he's going to pop up very soon because he said he was coming for Gandalf. So that might be in the next episode.
I would assume we'd see him at least one more time before next season.
We've got 2 episodes left. We're going to see battle, obviously. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Numenor.
Yes.
This episode, you picked a side. Next episode, you defend it. We saw the Stoors. Basically, they're going to fight. They're already collecting snakes to get venom. Then Gandalf has a choice. He's going to choose to fight. And then the Numenoreans, they have a choice. Which person are you going to follow? So it was like this was the episode of choices and decisions. And the next one is backing up your choice.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting.
I think it's going to be very good. And I am very much looking forward to it.
Me too.
As always, it's Amanda here to say thank you to all of our listeners and to ask that if you like this week's episode, leave us an honest rating. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, please feel free to comment on our post over at our Girls Nerd Out podcast account on Instagram. If you're interested in buying any of our merch to support the podcast and so that we can continue to release weekly episodes, then check it out over at girlsnerdoutpodcast.com. Our podcast logo was designed by Chairman Bilal over on Fiverr. Our podcast merch was put together by me, myself, and I at Southern Mother of Dragons on all social media. If you're interested in my personal merch, check it out at southernmotherofdragons.com. And the designs for that merch were put together by Ryuchi Studios on Etsy after an in-depth back and forth discussion with me to find the perfect merch for me and my loyal supporters. The music played while I tell you about all the ways you can support us and the production of the podcast is Kawaii Girl by Pumpkin Pie. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you just listened to
Girls Nerd Out.